And we're live.
We are live. Well, let's wait a couple minutes
Okay.
for people to hop on. Hello. Your hair looks good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I should have offered you some water.
Okay. And we'll face each other, so we like each other.
We do like each other.
Yeah.
That's going on the record.
Okay. We can actually get closer too. Oh look, we've got one person on here.
Oh, hello. Welcome, welcome. We're gonna wait just a minute or so longer so we can get a couple more people on here.
Go ahead and chat in the comments if you'd like to contribute to this live presentation here.
We'd love to engage with you guys. So yeah, if you want to send us a message or have a question or just want to say hi, say hey, hello, welcome. If you just hopped on, we're gonna wait a minute or so longer to see if we can get a couple more folks to join us. Hi guys. Someone said hi, Daphne. Oh, hey,
It's
Nathan.
Nathan.
Hey. Oh. Is this the thumbnail that you're using? It's complicated?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is not about me and Brian's relationship. This is a very good friend of mine. That's not complicated at all.
Right, yeah.
Just for the record.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started.
You want to get started?
I want to get started, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so you want to tell us about what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah. So today, I really just wanted to make a video to go over all the nitty gritty.
Sandra.
Hi,
Hey,
Sandra.
We are live, so we can see you and we'll respond to your text as well.
Yeah, as best we can. But yeah, so today I wanted to make a video to go over really the nitty gritty details of buying a home in Austin today. Today is October 27th, 2021. And the market is completely different than it was this time last year. It's also completely different than it was 4 months ago. And it's still wacky. So yeah, so we just wanted to go over the nuances of that and go over all that information. I guess it started because I was talking to Brian. Brian is a very good friend of mine. And I don't know why I made that sarcastic face. He's a good friend of mine. Yeah. And he was saying that he was thinking about buying a home. And you started asking me some questions about the process. And we started getting into the conversation. And I was like, why don't we just hop on a live stream and do this video and to explain to everybody, because I literally have the same exact conversation with every client who hops on the phone with me that wants to buy a house, like this time in history that we're living in. So you'll learn, and you guys will learn along with Brian. And if you have questions, please leave them in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I love interacting with you guys. Also, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification button so you get notified every time I have a new video. Okay. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So typically when I have a new client that calls me, of course we'll get on the phone or we'll do a Zoom call to go over the questions that they have. I typically start out by just going over the housing market in Austin first and then talking about the process of buying a home in Austin. So, and that's exactly what we're gonna do now. I wanna go over what the housing market is doing in Austin, and then we'll go over the process of. I feel like today a lot of home buyers are very educated. I get clients all the time that not only do they have a list of houses and neighborhoods that they want to look at, but they've already talked to several lenders and they've done a ton of homework. So really, of course, the first step in buying a home is going to be talking to a bank or lender. In this market right now, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of using a local lender. I think we have some new folks that are joining us. Hello. Please leave a comment if you have questions. We'll be checking the chat box periodically and try to get to your questions. So yeah, like I mentioned, I cannot stress enough how important it is to use a local lender. I'm not a fan of the big banks. I won't name names, but it's like the big ones that everybody can name. They can offer a really good loan package up front initially, and they have this really beautiful product to present to you or to you as a consumer. And then I feel like inevitably somebody drops the ball and there's just no communication, and deadlines don't get met. The client ends up getting a different interest rate. The few times that I have worked with them, it has been a mess. So I do have, personally, I have 2 local lenders that I work with very, very closely. I don't get anything if you work with them. It's just relationships that I have, and like they've proven time and time again that they're really good at what they do. You do need to know, ultimately, as a consumer, you have the right to choose whatever lender you work with. I would just say stay away from the big banks. Also, the online lenders, they don't have a good reputation, but they really can offer good interest rates. So if you're gonna go with an online lender, we just have to do we just have to do a lot of homework to make sure that they are super legit and like really on top of it. Because if they're not, then again, it can delay everything. It can be a huge pain down the line. So step 1, talk to a lender. Okay, so once you go to a lender, right, you'll get, they'll look at your credit, they'll look at your income, your savings, your job history, if you're self-employed, how long you've been doing that, what else? Everything. It's a very thorough process that they do. Once you speak to the lender, they will give you something called a letter of pre-approval, which is literally a letter saying, Brian is approved to buy a home and you can afford X amount of home. Most people already know the price range that they need to be in. But of course, when you talk to a lender, they solidify that for us and then they give us that official letter saying like, yep, good to go. Once you have that letter of pre-approval, we hit the ground running, and that's when we start looking at homes. The pre-approval process can take anywhere from, God, I had a client get approved in like 4 hours because, yeah, like I've had that happen before. And then if you're like not in a super rush, if your hair is not on fire, you can get approved typically in like a few days. It just depends on like what your timetable is, what the market's doing, etc. Okay, so sorry, this is like so many details about everything, but I told you we were gonna get into the nitty gritty of it all and the reasons behind why we do what we do, why we do what we do. Yeah, and again, if you guys have questions, leave questions. I'll answer them if I can throughout the video. If not, I'll wait till the end. Let me see if there's anything yet. Nothing. Okay,
Yep.
Cool. So once you have that pre-approval letter I mentioned, we can start looking at homes. So basically how that process works, we'll talk about the type of home that you'd like, what neighborhoods you want to be in, all of that. And of course, we always respect the budget and the price range. Basically what we'll do is I'll gather the criteria that you have for the home that you want to ideally purchase. I'll put a list of homes together that I think you might like. And then this happens more often than not. Honestly, I have my clients, they'll just send me like a dozen homes that they found that they want to see. Like I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, so many buyers are so educated today. Like, yeah, that it's really me kind of providing information and holding their hand through the process, and they control, of course, all the choices and stuff. I'm just giving info. Yeah. So once we have a handful of homes that we want to take a look at, I typically say look at no more than like maybe, if you're ambitious, maybe 8 homes a day. That's a lot. But anywhere from 5 to 6, I would say, is pretty normal. Otherwise, it can get pretty overwhelming for you as a home buyer and for me. I do a lot of times have my assistant show homes because I'm oftentimes helping other families and other clients. So it'll either be me or my assistant, Dulce. And yeah, so once we are looking at homes, let me back up. I also have a lot of clients that come to Austin from out of state. Majority of them are from the West Coast. I have a handful from the East Coast, and then sometimes just like sporadic states throughout, but a lot of folks that are coming in from out of town.
I actually have a lot of people and a lot of friends in California who really are thinking about moving to Austin. Now, I've lived in Austin for a while, but what would that process look like for somebody in California if they wanted to purchase a home while they're there? What would that look like for you?
It happens all the time. That's a good question. Yeah, so when we go look at homes, right, this actually just ties in. So basically we do video tours when we go look at homes. And what I was gonna say, when we're just like looking at homes like in person, basically we go around and I try to point out all the good, bad, and the ugly. Some homes are like nearly perfect, not ever perfect, right? That's never the case. But when we have clients that are out of state that are doing video tours to see homes, it's the same thing. We go in, I have my phone, right? I'll do a FaceTime video with them, and the house might be great. And then I also try to like go super slow and point out everything that I think might come up in an inspection or something that might need repair when they move in, whether it's big or not. I think whether you're in person or whether you're buying a home from out of state, like so many people do, it's really important to have the full spectrum or a full idea of, full picture of the type of home you're buying and like set expectations. So that's basically how that looks. I have some clients that will literally look at like 4 homes, and then like the first day we go out to look at homes, they'll decide to get something. And some folks take a little bit longer, but I would say like overall the average is about 12 homes or so.
So even if you live out of state, and you've even had clients who were like in Australia, right? That you were showing homes with a video camera and just like walking through houses and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's 100% what happens. So yeah, we'll literally do a FaceTime video. I'll go into the house, like I'll open the door, like do a slow scan of everything. And then, so we try to give people like as clear of a picture of the type of home that they're looking at to see if the photos match the reality of the home, and all of that.
What would you say to somebody who's thinking about moving to Austin about moving to Texas, right? So obviously, you know, not getting into like any of the politics of it and everything, but there's a lot of controversy about Texas right now. What would you say about people moving to Austin and what they can expect moving here? Just the quality of life.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you for specifying.
Yeah.
I was like, they can expect so many things. Quality of life. Well, it depends where you come from, right? But generally speaking, Austin is very friendly. It's known to be a pretty liberal town. It's growing a ton, and though we don't have as bad of traffic as places in California currently do, it is getting worse every year. So just completely honest. On the other side, people that are here are super friendly. People are generally very happy. You can say hi to people walking down the street.
People make eye contact with you?
They make eye contact and they acknowledge
wave
you.
And say hello back.
And acknowledge your existence because you matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and like people genuinely want to be friends here. Like Brian's from California. You moved here, what, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
And I moved here about 11 years ago, and it's like, it's been really easy to make friends because no one's from here. Most people are not from here, and everyone just wants to make a new friend or two. So it's, yeah. As far as like other aspects of quality of life too, there's a lot, I don't know, I'm weird about food because I'm vegan, right? So like I have a very limited array of what I eat, but like I have a lot of friends that are foodies, and they said that there's a lot of variety of as far as food goes. I don't know if it's like the best food in the country. We do have the best barbecue in the country. But like tons of different like styles of food, tons of things to do. We have so many outdoor activities, and like there's just always like events and little festivals and like music going on, kind of in random places too. So I've been here for 11 years. I've traveled most of the country. Austin is home. It is of course one of my favorite places. That's why I live here. I think it's high quality of life. It just depends what you're expecting or wanting. Yeah.
So this past year, real estate prices have gone sky high.
Yeah.
Like let me just give some perspective. When I moved to Austin 20 years ago, my rent was $500 a month. $500 a month for a full like apartment, right? Like that's just incredible that I could even have an apartment for $500 a month here. The average home price was about $150 to $200, and at $200 was a nice house.
Oh God, yeah.
The past year, the price of an average home, what would you say the average price of a home is right now?
So, okay, actually last year, the home price average was about $364,000, about. That's pretty exact. And now I think it is like in the high 500s. I want to say it's like 584 or something along those lines. That's just from one year to the next.
Yeah.
And I'll get into detail as to why that's been happening. Okay. So once we're out looking at houses, and I'll tie back to that point here in just a second. So once we're out looking at houses and a client has chosen the home that they want to make an offer on, the first thing that we do is I call the selling agent to see if the home has any offers on it currently. It could be that the house has been on the market for a day, or it could be that the house has been on the market for a month. In this market, we literally never know. A house could be just sitting there and nothing happens, and all of a sudden it gets 6 offers. I see that all the time. It's very frustrating. It's very weird, and that's what our market's doing here. So basically, and right now, also, if you guys are just joining us, we are just talking about, right now we're in the portion where we're talking about the process of buying a home in Austin. And then after that, we're going to talk about what the market is doing in Austin. So let me get through this portion first, and then we're just going to hop into the market condition and all that. So like I mentioned, once you find a home that you want to buy, then we call the selling agent. I try to get as much information as I can on it. I ask things like, are there offers? How many are there? What's the highest bid? They don't typically tell me. They don't like to tell me. So I just keep them on the phone for as long as possible until I get some sort of number. So then I can bring that back to my client and see if that number makes sense for my client. A big truck just drove by and it was very loud. Sorry if you heard that, it was distracting.
One thing that you should get used to is there are a lot of big trucks, even in Austin.
That's true.
It's just a Texas thing.
So many trucks everywhere in Texas.
Yeah.
Not as much in Austin. There are a lot still, but like there's more in other parts.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of electric vehicles. Cheers. Okay. So, yes?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say Ford's going to be all electric, so all those Ford trucks are going to be electric soon.
Cheers.
That rumble is going to be gone.
Cheers. Gonna be gone. I'm not going to hear no rumbling. Okay. So once, like I mentioned, once I've gathered that information, I bring it back to my client to see if making an offer on that home still makes sense for them. If it does, then we will submit an offer. My assistant, her name is Dulce, she will send my client an email with blank offer documents and an explanation of the pertinent points in the contract. The contract has like 24, 25 different paragraphs, and not all of them are relevant, so we just point out the most important portions of it. As a home buyer, you just look at that, read the email over, you don't print it out, you don't fill anything in. That is our job. Once we've answered your questions, then we fill in the contract. We send it to you as the buyer for digital signatures. It comes back to us, and then it goes to the selling agent. If there are multiple offers on the home, we will typically hear back in about a day. Another thing, most home sellers will put their home on the market on a Thursday or a Friday because that's when they're kind of getting their lists together to go shopping for the weekend, right? Saturday and Sunday. So if we see a home hit the market on Thursday, they will likely wait until Sunday or early Monday to make a decision, whether there are multiple offers or not. If there are multiple offers on a home, then the selling agent will usually call for something that's called highest and best. So let's say the home comes on the market Thursday morning, we go check it out Saturday afternoon, and then they'll tell us, okay, highest and best due by Sunday evening at 8 p.m. So we gather all our documents and then we submit them by then. If that's the case, then we should hear back probably by like mid-afternoon or midday Monday. There's slight variations on that, but that's kind of like the general expectation. Once your offer is accepted, assuming it gets accepted, which a lot of times we do. I mean, it's like I'm very kind and professional, but I try to be very aggressive so I can get as much information from my clients, so they don't have to look at 17 houses before getting one, or make 17 offers before getting one. It's not time efficient for anybody. So once we get a home under contract, the buyer is responsible to turn in 2 checks. The first check is called earnest money. That is typically 1% of the sales price, and that check or that money goes to the title company. The title company is responsible for doing all the legal work on the deed, the title, all of that kind of stuff, changing the name from one owner to the new one. In Texas, we don't use real estate attorneys. That's sort of the function of the title company. So every now and then I get a client that asks if they need an attorney, and we're like, no, we do not use attorney. I mean, if something goes wrong, you can, but like, God forbid. So no, we don't use attorneys, we use title companies. So that earnest money goes to the title company. They hold that in an escrow account until closing. When we go to close, then that money is credited back to you as a buyer towards your down payment or your closing costs. So keep that in your head. I'm gonna make another point to go back to that one. So we turn in the earnest money, and then we turn in something called option money. You are basically buying, let's say 5 days from the selling party to do your inspection and any other negotiations. During those 5 days, of course, you do your inspection, and then you can also walk away from the contract for any reason. Now, the option money in a normal market can be like $300 to $400. In this market now, option money is typically like $1,500 to $3,000, and that money goes to the seller, right? So you can walk away during the option period for literally any reason and get your earnest money back, the 1% of the sales price. But the seller gets to keep the option money. We'll call it $1,500 for this example, which kind of sucks, but it's better than losing your, I don't know, $6,000, $7,000. Yeah, those are the two. Also, if everything goes as planned and we go to closing, the buyer gets that option money, that $1,500 back, credited back to them also towards their down payment or their closing costs. Questions? You can say no.
No.
Okay, no questions.
We're good.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me check here.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
checking the live box. Hey guys, there's a few more folks that just jumped in.
That was Sandra. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, there's a few more folks that just jumped in. If you guys are just joining us, we are going over the nitty-gritty details of buying a home in Austin, and then we're going to talk about what the market's doing right now, just to recap everybody. All right, so once we get through the option period, that's kind of like one of the more like stressful portions of negotiations. Sometimes there's like nothing up really with a house. I mean, no house is perfect, like I mentioned earlier, but sometimes it's just like, it's fine, you're good to go. We still try to negotiate something if it's necessary, but every now and then we do see something that's a little bit bigger. Like for instance, right now, I work in Central and North Austin a lot, and I'm actually seeing this in South Austin too, but we had a hailstorm in April of this year, and a lot of roofs got damaged. So a lot of roofs are coming up on the inspection as needing to be replaced or repaired, right? So we're doing a lot of like roof negotiations right now. I think I've had like 3 homes in the last month and a half that have needed to have new roofs replaced. Needed roofs replaced, roof replacement. They've needed that. And I think sellers actually they're very reasonable. They know that that's a thing, and like I think a lot of times they're ready for it.
Yeah. I think one of the things about Austin, whether if you're just moving here or thinking about moving to Austin, is I had a buddy of mine who moved here from Seattle. And Seattle is basically, Seattle gets the same amount of rain as Austin does. The difference between Seattle and Austin is that Austin has 2 types of weather, sun and pouring rain. And the pouring rain is very few and far between. But when we get the rain, it's a lot of rain. We very rarely get big hailstorms, although
yeah, it's rare.
About every 7 years or so, there is going to be a big hailstorm that just comes through. One year, a hailstorm came in at 5 o'clock traffic. Everyone was on the freeway. I was in the freeway. And
when was that?
This was 2007.
Oh, I wasn't here yet.
Yeah.
I wasn't born yet.
Yeah.
Just kidding, I was born.
See.
I was alive and well.
I'm old, so like.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, and if you're just hopping in,
yeah.
and you're wondering who this is my really good friend, Brian. He actually helped me create a lot of the content that we do. And he was thinking about thinking about the process about buying a home earlier. We were talking about what that's like. And I told him like, let's just do a live stream and talk about that so we can help educate other folks.
Well, because I know that a lot of people are moving here and probably have the same questions that I do.
They all have the same questions.
And even though I've been here forever, the process of buying a home, it's just different.
It is. Yeah, it is. And I mean, honestly, like I tell clients this all the time, buying a home is not hard. It's just, there's just a lot of little details involved. And honestly, like you wouldn't need to do any of this stuff unless you're buying a house. And like people don't typically buy a house like every month. So yeah. Yep. Let me proceed. Okay, so we just talked about moving through the option period and negotiating things when necessary. And like I mentioned, when we go look at homes, I try to point out everything that I think might come up in an inspection. I'm not a contractor and I'm not an inspector, but if something's really, not even that big, but like if something big comes up, I'll point it out so we're not super shocked during the inspection. Or you can decide if you even want to deal with that and if you even want that house at that point. Cool. So we move through the option period. We've negotiated repairs or credits from the seller. Basically what that means is that the seller gives you money back credited towards your closing costs at closing. That's all I'll say about that. I don't want to get into like too many details about it. If you have questions about it though, like ask. I can answer it later. Yeah. Okay. So we've moved to the option period. Our next hurdle right now is the appraisal. So if you don't know what an appraisal is, basically it's when, if you're financing a home, it's when the lender sends a third party out to look at the house, and the appraiser will tell you if the house is worth what you're paying. So let me begin. It's kind of like high level, and then we'll get into like what's been happening in the market with appraisals. So as a buyer, let's say you're buying a house. Now, let's say the home is listed for $100. All right, the house was listed in 17 BC. It was a $100 house, and it was listed for $100. There were, let's say, 5 offers on it, and we're getting it for $120. Okay. The appraiser comes out to look at the house, and they'll take a look at the house, they'll take measurements, photos, and compare it to other homes that have sold, typically in the same subdivision, if possible, if not within about a mile and a half radius. Homes that have sold within the last 6 months to a year. I think it might be 6 months now. I don't know that, I'm not an appraiser. So they'll look at the home and they'll give you what their opinion of the value is. So option number 1, the appraiser goes into the house and he reports back to us, yes, this house is worth $120. Great. Then we can close in like a few days to about a week after. The second thing that can happen is that the appraiser goes into the house and he's like, this house is worth $150. Awesome. That is actually the best outcome because we have a contracted price of $120. Price does not change. You just have $30 of equity. Boom, boom, boom. That doesn't happen very often though. And then, well, it's starting to. Okay, let me get into it. Yeah. And then the last thing that happens, that was happening a ton just a couple of months ago, is that the appraiser will go in and he'll look at the house and he'll say it is worth less than the contracted price. So again, our example, it was the house was listed at $100. We're getting it for $120. The appraiser says, nope, this house is worth $90. Boo. So that's a $30 difference, right? So in a normal market, we would have the option to renegotiate the price with the seller. That's almost non-existent anymore because most homes, not all, but most homes are going in multiple offers. The second option we would have would be to walk away from the contract. Also, that's not super existent anymore because usually when we submit an offer, you're not obligated to do this, but it's what helps people get houses. We turn in a document basically telling the seller, we will cover any appraisal shortage, which can be risky when you don't know what the market's doing, which is what was happening this spring and earlier this summer. So I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. Okay, so let me just recap very quickly. So basically it's saying like, we're getting the house for $120. It was listed at $100, but it appraised at $90. So we are obligated to cover that $30 difference. Now, a couple things are happening to, number 1, avoid this and see if we can predict if this will happen. If we are submitting an offer on a home with multiple offers on it, or any home, honestly, we look at comparable homes in that neighborhood that have sold within about the last 4 to 6 months to see if that price is, to see if that price is justifiable. So if they're asking $100 for the house and we're getting it for $120, but there's one just like it that sold down the street 2 months ago for $125, like we should be good. But if we're getting it for $120 and everything else sold for $105, yeah, like we can expect to pay something out of pocket. And that's what we were having to do earlier this year. I was just setting that expectation with clients, like we're probably gonna have to pay extra, like money out of pocket to get this house.
And that was really more at like the height of the summer, wasn't it, of this year? Kind of like for the past year. But
that was mostly, yes, it's still happening, not as bad.
Okay.
So I want to get into that once I wrap up this portion of the
So just to kind of just to set the audience's expectation of what they should expect there, the homes are appraising for less than they're going for in the market, which means that people are having to come up with extra money up front.
Some. Not all, and that's what I want to get into in just a little bit.
Okay.
Also, if you just hopped on to the video, please feel free to leave questions in the comments area and say hello. We love interacting. Shoot, there was one more thing I was gonna say about appraisals. understand. Okay. All right, well, that's all I got. Let me see if you guys have any questions. How do you see this?
So basically what this is saying is that it's going to be right here.
Oh, yeah. Okay, perfect. So no questions.
Yep.
All right.
So this is 100% live. So if you want to, there we go.
People are desperate for these homes. No, not so much. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are.
Well, because you know what? Austin is one of the best places to live. This is, we show up number one on multiple reports that come out. People want to move to Austin. And a big part of it is the quality of life. There's so much growth that's happened here. Austin, when I first moved to Austin, the tallest building in the city was literally the Capitol Dome. Because that was Austin, right? It was UT and the Capitol, and that was pretty much it, right? It was a small, sleepy college town. It kind of was known as sort of like a hippy-dippy, itty-bitty version of San Francisco with a few tech companies. And just in the past, I would say 10 years, a bunch of tech companies that have moved out here. The growth has been phenomenal. The number of towers downtown, I mean, it looks like an actual city now, right? Like you walk downtown and you feel like you're in Manhattan. There's so many towers there. And that's 100% true because, like I said, the Capitol Dome was the tallest building, 20 years ago.
Yes, so kind of going back to that comment, actually some people, I don't want to say they're desperate, hold on. What are your options if you don't have all the required funds to close? Let me get back to that. Shoot. Yes, so what was I saying about the people being desperate? Yeah, I've had a lot of clients that will get relocated here for work. I mean, we have Apple, Tesla's here, Samsung, and then we have so many other like smaller tech companies that are just moving their staff here and that are having to be here by a deadline. So yeah, sometimes people aren't like desperate, but like a lot of times it's like, we've got to meet this deadline. We have to be there by a particular time. What are your options if you don't have the funds to buy it? It's very situational, and that's one of the things I want to get into here in just a second about the market and what it's doing. Because a few months ago, I mean, if you weren't putting down like 20% and had an extra $1,000 out of pocket on top of that to put on a house, to cover the appraisal difference on a home, like you couldn't get anything. And now what we're starting to see is that the market is starting to level out, which is so good. So earlier this year, we made a video about, what was it called? Buying a home in Austin very hard. Mm-hmm. This is my content guy and my very good friend. So he remembers these things for me sometimes. Yeah. So basically what we were saying in that video is that like you had to put down like a ton of money and then you had to pay a ton of money out of pocket as well. And at that time I mentioned, when did we do that? Like March? I think that was March. Maybe it was February. Let's call it March.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna say it was March. So it was like March-ish, April this year. Oh wow. My mind just blanked.
Okay.
What was I saying?
We were talking about it's very hard to buy a home in Austin.
Okay, I was just gonna talk about inventory.
Oh yeah, inventory.
Yeah. See how that didn't connect at all?
Okay.
So at that time, when we made that video in March, basically inventory was at an all-time low. And typically in Austin, we'll have about 5,500 homes for sale, like in the Austin metro. That's including like way north suburbs and way south suburbs. And I remember at one point when we did that video, there were literally 1,585 homes on the market. Like that's nothing. When we're used to 5,500 and it's already competitive. That was bananas. So going back to today, our market is leveling out. Inventory is starting to rise. I think we're at about 4,200-ish homes on the market, which is such a relief. We are seeing homes starting to sit on the market for a little bit longer. And I think that is for two reasons. I might think of a third one, but the first one is that buyers just got fed up. Like they were just tired of paying $100,000 to $150,000 over the asking price and having to pay that cash out of their own pocket. So I think a lot of buyers are just like, screw this, I'm just gonna rent. And even then, like the rental market, I guess, is really supposed to be like super competitive. Like I know a bunch of people that are trying to rent, they couldn't because there was like nothing available. I don't know much about that field, but basically, yeah, like buyers are just like over it. They're like, screw this, I'm just gonna hang out and wait.
Well, and I'll give some context to the rental market. When I moved here 20 years ago, as I was saying before, my one-bedroom apartment was $500, and I was off of 34th Street,
which is super central.
Which
it's
is like that's like the closest to downtown you can get without paying $3,000 a month. Right now, that area is probably going for $2,000 a month. If you go outside of that, maybe 10, 15 miles away from the downtown area, where you're probably looking at about $1,200 to $1,600 is kind of the average of what you're looking at, and that's not like a great area. That's in an okay area.
It's okay. It's very okay.
Yeah, it's very okay.
Yeah,
right?
like the Domain, for instance. If you want to live at the Domain, one of my very good friends has an apartment there. He's waiting for his new home to be built. What is he paying? I want to think he's paying like $2,200 a month for like 800 square feet, and it's cute. And I mean, you're in the Domain, which is bomb, but still, like that's for Austin. That's high.
Yeah.
Okay, so buyers are tired and they're fed up. And then the other thing is historically, like kind of the end of the summer, because we're in October, but it's still like kind of summer-y for us. It's still, I mean, yesterday it was like, what, 95 degrees?
Yeah.
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 Okay,
I mean, we're at the end of October and it's 95 degrees.
But I mean, today it was like 75, right? So, which is beautiful. But it's like our weather's very bipolar. We're still kind of summer months. So I would say from June, July, August, July, September, till about September. The market just sort of chills out because I don't know, I think it gets so hot and people are like traveling and they're just out. Nobody's really wanting to, I mean, I'm sure people want to buy houses, just the market doesn't do very much at that point. So we're starting to come back from that. And also just kind of like 1, 2, and like 2A, I think a lot of sellers just got very greedy. I spoke to a couple people that wanted to sell their house and they wanted to put it on the market for like way more than it was worth. And I was just like, I can't help you this year, maybe in 2 years we can talk, but like it's pointless because they're just gonna have their house sitting on the market and it won't sell, and then it's just a lot of hassle. So I think that's a lot of what's happening. Question: is it busiest for builders in the fall? I don't know. Builders are weird right now. Let me come back to builders here in just a second. So we were talking, somebody had asked if like, what do you do if you don't have the funds to buy a house? So in a normal market, you can buy a home with as little as 3.5% down. It kind of depends on their situation and the builder, but like there's a lot of people that buy homes for 3.5% down. If a house has been sitting on the market for a little bit and we're the only offer on it, we may be able to negotiate price a little bit. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. But generally, you're probably not going to, it's probably going to make appraisal, number one. And number two, you don't have to put down 20% or more. If there's no offers on the house, obviously, like we've got the ball's in our court, basically. So we look for that. I've got a couple clients that are just not wanting to spend a ton of extra money, and we're just looking for houses that stay on the market for a little bit longer to see if we can negotiate something. We're still sellers are not very giving right now. They still want to get mostly their list price, but sometimes we have a little bit of leeway. And if we can get a house at like asking price or like a tiny bit above, like that's like amazing. Thumbs up. Cool. And then as far as builders, so builders have been really weird this year because earlier when that mad rush was happening, when there were only 1,500 homes on the market at one time, builders basically they limited the amount of homes they could sell. Number one, because they were getting greedy, I said it, and they knew they could sell for more. And also there is and was a shortage in supplies. So a lot of times builders will have like a list of like 15 homes that they have. Like some of them are inventory, which means that they're like already started construction, and some of them are to be built. Who would be a good local lender? I will tell you in just a second. Ask me again if I don't answer your question, Sandra, about the lender. So basically, like last year, builders would have like a list of like 12 to 15 homes that they could sell kind of that month, and you could go in and like buy it, right? This year, a lot of builders, number one, were limited to selling like 2 to 5 homes per month. And then they gathered a list of like 300 people, and they would send out a blast email to everyone saying, hey, we've got 2 homes available, make an offer. So you'd have 45 people making an offer on 2 homes. And that is what caused like the builder pricing to go up. There's one builder that I've been seeing a lot the last 6 weeks. Every weekend they send me an email. They're like, hey, we've got 9 homes available. Not all of them have multiple offers. They're being built now. They'll be ready in the early spring. And like they're in a fairly competitive price range, kind of like in Northeast Austin, like under the 500 price range, and they're brand new, which like with everything going on is like, it's a miracle. It's a real estate miracle. So yeah. Were you gonna say something?
No.
Okay.
I was just looking at you.
You were just breathing.
Doing this.
I do weird things a lot. So yeah, some builders are starting to have some incentives for buyers too, which is huge. And by incentives, I mean they'll cover, if you go with their lender, which can be they'll cover a large portion, if not all, of your closing costs. Closing costs are basically like an extra 2% fee on top of your down payment, 2% of the sales price, which is made up of property taxes, insurance, lender fees, title fees, and like a bunch of other like lender things. I don't 1,000% know what all of them are, but it can be another 2%-ish of on top of the down payment, which, so if you can have a builder pay for that, like that's really awesome, because I personally see that as kind of like junk fees. At least your down payment, if you go to sell the house later, you get that back as like an investment, right? But like closing costs, like it's just yeah, junk money, junk fees.
That's actually kind of a good thing to think about when financing a home, because a lot of those things are wrapped up into the finance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
sometimes
really,
yeah.
do people have to come to the table with that money?
Yes.
Really?
In this market, yeah. It used to be,
Okay.
before we had a problem with appraisals. So yeah, so we could wrap it into, so it used to be that we could wrap closing costs into basically the down payment or the loan. So let's say back in the day when a house cost $300,000 and you had $8,000 of closing costs, you would just tell the seller, I'm going to buy your house for $308. That's what I'm going to finance. And then you would tell them, but I want you to pay $8,000 of my closing costs. So they would end up walking away with $300,000. You would just finance that $8,000. But now, because appraisals are so wonky, if you're asking them, if you're already overpaying and then you're asking them to pay more, if you're paying more, I think you guys are trying to understand what I'm saying. It's
basically you can only wrap in the closing cost into the loan if your house appraises for more than what the asking price is.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So like sometimes you can, again, it's very situational. If a house has been on the market forever, then yeah, we can ask them to cover closing costs, sometimes not, and we can finance it. Also, if a house has been on the market for a long time, we can ask the seller to cover our closing costs. It doesn't happen very often, but it's possible. It just, again, everything is so situational. There's so much gray area in so much of real estate.
So let's maybe talk a little bit about how long properties stay on the market, because in the summertime of this year, you were telling me that, and I actually went to walkthroughs with you, and it was literally a line of real estate agents. The moment they had an open house, there would be a line of real estate agents from the front door all the way to the street, waiting to go one by one, because it was COVID, and you had to go one by one with your client. And literally within like an hour or two, that house would be sold. Now, so like if the time to close a house is an hour or two, then obviously those sellers are really not interested in lowball offers. They're going to take the highest.
Right. If there's multiple offers, like we talked about,
right.
If you're just hopping in, or like you hopped in just a few minutes ago, go back to the front of this video. We were talking about how a lot of times when a seller puts a home on the market, it'll be like on a Thursday or Friday, and then they'll wait through the weekend to review offers. Unless, I did have this happen a few times this year. We put a house on the market, and within like 12 hours, I had a realtor like, what will it take to get this house off the market now? And I'll just throw out some like ridiculous number that's like $200,000 over the asking price, and they're like, okay, done. That's happened before. Not every time, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of at the height.
Yeah.
Now that we've sort of are in the normalizing period of our housing market, what would you say is the average time that a house sits on the market now?
Okay, and it depends.
Okay.
I was like trying to hold his hand, and I'm like, Brian, it depends. It really depends what part of town the house is in. So if it's like within the 4 highways, like I guess I don't know what you guys are seeing, but like 35, Mopac, 45, and 290. If it's like within that rectangle and it's priced whatever okay means, right? But like okay for the neighborhood, a weekend, like 2 days. And that's only because the seller will wait to review offers for 2 days. If not, then it would probably be sold within the first day. If a home is like in the burbs, I'm starting to see homes stay on the market for like 7 to 10 days now. A few weeks ago, I was looking at homes with a client where we like Pflugerville, like deep Pflugerville. Some of the homes have been on the market for like 3 weeks to a month. And the sellers didn't want to negotiate. And that's why they were in the market for so long. But so it really varies a lot by like condition, price range, neighborhood. But we are starting to see homes stay in the market for at least a week now.
So it is kind of like normalizing to a normal market, which is reasonable expectations are starting to prevail and not like these crazy numbers of, yeah, give me 200,000 over asking. Yeah, I'll take that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And part of that too is because I think the market, like pricing has caught up with the market. So like I've given this example before, I think in another video. So if this is redundant, anyway. So let's say in April, a home was listed at 350 and it ended up selling for 500. That same home today will be listed for 500 and it'll sell for maybe like 500 or 510. So it's not going to go for 750, right? Like that's kind of done. Like the market prices have already caught up, which is kind of what's causing everything to stabilize, along with other things. So that's just kind of like in a nutshell what the market's doing. There's a lot more opportunity now. You don't have to put down 72% and pay an extra $200,000 out of pocket to buy a home. Every now and then we do run into kind of that situation where you have to do a large, that's a whole other topic, where you do have to cover some money for like an appraisal shortage. But again, we try to look at comps beforehand so we know if that's something we can expect or not. And if a home has been on the market for a while, then like we can try to negotiate. I never promise anything because it's like I literally never know. People are different. Every situation is different.
So we had a few people on here that were asking about pricing and not being able to afford, covering fees and different things like that. Now that we're in a normalized market, right?
Well, I wouldn't say normalized yet. I'm holding his hand again.
well, it's normalizing, right?
It's getting there,
right?
Yeah.
What sort of areas would you recommend somebody who's kind of in that place to be able to afford a home that's going to appraise at what they expect it to appraise at, so that they're not caught off guard with like an extra $100,000 that they have to come out of pocket with?
Mostly like the suburbs. So.
And what would that be?
Yep. So Manor's become a really popular one. Pflugerville's become super popular. Parts of Round Rock. Not Cedar Park. Cedar Park there's like a lot of competition there. Leander's another good one. So yeah, like Leander, parts of Round Rock, Pflugerville, Manor, and maybe Elgin. Elgin's pretty far out. I don't know Elgin that well, but
I mean, Manor's kind of far out too.
It is. It's closer than Elgin.
Yeah, it is.
Elgin's like straight up a 30-minute drive.
Yeah, not wrong. Yeah.
East. Wait, east is that way.
Yeah. Isn't that like what the Elgin sausage is named after?
I don't know.
I always thought it was.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing. Elgin sausage.
Do you guys know about Elgin sausage?
Yeah, it's a thing.
Has the lender caught up with the appraisal? Yeah, and that's what. Hi, mate. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. That it's a lot of homes are coming in at appraised value or very, very close.
And is that because other homes have sold in that area and now comps have all raised
exactly
as a result?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying. That's a good way to say it. Thank you for saying that in English for me. Appreciate that. Okay, and then somebody had asked about the lenders. Can we put a link to the lenders and their contact information in this video afterwards? Do we have that option? I legitimately don't know.
Maybe.
Okay, so I'll just tell you. Also, feel free to, my contact information is all over these videos. So if you want to shoot me like an Instagram DM or send me an email and want to talk to a lender, let me know and I can send you their information. One of the lenders that I love to work with is Loan People. They are super good. They have an excellent reputation in Austin. They are really thorough. They have excellent customer service. They'll give you a really good program. They'll sit with you and explain everything. They close on time. They're super kind. Like, everything is.
Wasn't there
good.
another one that you work with?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I've got a contact for Loan People who is really, really good. We've been working together for about 5 years. And then there's another company that I also work with. They are called Lend Friend. That's easy to remember. Your friend in lending. They are also local. It's also a really well-oiled machine. They have a lot of folks on staff, and you'll call them up. You'll probably talk like one of the 2 or 3 managers, and then they'll direct you to a loan officer who's gonna manage your file throughout. They'll be your point of contact throughout. Also, a question that I get asked a lot is how long it takes to close a home. From the time of contract, meaning from the time that your offer gets accepted to the actual close date, it is about 30 days in Texas, or in Austin, Texas. In Austin, Texas, USA, Earth. And I know other parts of the country can take a lot longer, but it's like 30 days to close, and it's a pretty streamlined process. Also, I mentioned, I was almost done explaining the buying process, and I think I sidetracked myself. So after the appraisal comes in, right, like we're good to go close. Closing always happens, typically happens in a title company if you are in town. If you're out of state, we can do, it's called a mail out closing. The title company will send you the documents to your house or coffee shop or wherever, and they'll send you a notary, and the notary presents your documents, and you just sign away. The notary sends the documents back to Texas, and then a day later we close and you have access to your home. If you're in town for your closing, you could choose to fly in, or you can actually just be here already. Closing takes about an hour. You'll sign a stack of documents that are about this thick, a little bit smaller than the length of my nose.
Not intimidating at all.
It's not though,
Okay.
like, because a lot of them are like one signature for like 17 documents. And it goes by pretty quickly. Closing can take anywhere from like, I had a client close in like 30 minutes to like an hour. And then the title company sends the documents to the lender if you are financing a home. The lender reviews everything, they send it back to the title company, they send the funds to the title company sends the funds to the seller, and then within a couple of hours you get your house key and you can move into your new home. So that's what that looks like. A lot of times folks will take the entire day for closing. They'll take their entire day off so they can close. It's not necessary. You can typically do it in your lunch break. Or you can take the whole day if you're extra and you want to be doing the most. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's essentially it. Questions from you?
I don't know. Did we answer everyone's questions so far, or do you need further clarification? Anyone watching?
Need further clarification? Will they wait for any questions to populate, if any? I will request that you kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the notification button and keep commenting and asking questions. I really like interacting with people that have good questions and have valid things to say. It's so nice. All right, let me check. I feel like probably not, but no, nothing.
Okay.
All right, well, I'm just gonna stand here for like maybe another 30 seconds or so, see if anybody pops up any questions.
All right. Well, okay, so we got through the appraisal, we got through the lending process, we got the forms, we signed, now we have a signed contract in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Do you just move in? Is that what happens? Or
Yeah, you get your key, like a couple, question.
Okay.
How is the buying process different with the builder? Oh, good content, thank you. The buying process with the builder, oh shoot, I should just do another video on that altogether. Okay, so it's different in the sense that you go into the builder. One of 2 things can happen. You can buy an inventory home, which is a home that they've already got started usually. And it might be anywhere from like 90 to 30 days from completion. You go in, assuming there's no offers on it, and you say, I want to buy this house. And they'll say, great, we need a deposit. A deposit can be anywhere from like $1,000 to like $12,000. It really depends on the builder. What about the areas of Buda and Kyle? Yeah, those are good areas too. Lots of growth. Lots and lots of growth. Yeah, there's tons of options there too.
Is there like a lot of new homes out there?
There's a ton of new homes.
Yeah.
Lots of competition there though. I mean, this is just in general, whether you're like shopping in Leander, which is way north, or way south, there's tons of competition. There are lots of new construction homes in Kyle, in Buda as well.
Well, I asked specifically because Sandra was asking about builders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So maybe Sandra, was your question in regards to construction of new homes in Kyle and Buda?
I'm going to continue with the process of
Yeah.
buying a new home because it's
Go
the
ahead.
same literally
Yeah.
anywhere in Texas. So yeah, you put in your deposit. It can be like $1,000. I've seen them be way higher. It's just, yeah. And then you sign their contract. Most builders will require you to get an approval letter with their lender. You don't have to, but they really want you to think that you do. Yeah, she was asking about Buda and Kyle. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, while we're doing that, let me look up what's available in Buda and Kyle just to like give you like a quick overview. So yeah, you go in and you sign I have a really complicated password on my computer. Here we are. Perfect timing. Okay. And yeah, basically you sign the contract and that's like basically it. They'll give you updates weekly on what's going on with the house, and sometimes they'll send photos. Oh my gosh. Perfect time for this to be asking for every password I have. All right, finally we're in. Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted. Yeah, so yeah, they'll send you updates with like building updates on what they're doing on the home. They'll send you photos on what's going on with the home. Whether it's 6 months out or 30 days out, they'll keep you updated. And then they'll do 2 final walkthroughs when you are buying a new construction home. The first one is called like the blue tape walk, and the buyer orientation, where you'll go through the entire home. Can you read that question and remind me what it says later? They'll go through the entire home and they'll tell you how all the big systems work, like the AC, the water heater, where the water shut off is, how to like maintain your water heater, and like what your insulation's about and all of that. And you'll go through with, then you go through the home with blue tape and you mark every imperfection that you see so that you can, so that the builder can adjust it. A lot of times it's not just paint. You might have like a broken window or a door that's not closing correctly, etc. So you give them a punch list, or well, they come up with a punch list of things that need to be addressed. And then a few days later, it can be a week later, you go through with the builder, it's called superintendent or like the construction manager, and you make sure that everything has been done. And then a couple days later you close, and that's also the title company. It takes about an hour, and then you usually get your keys the same day. I hope that helps. But like I can do a whole video on buying a new construction home. That's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
So the last question was about the permitting process and how a homeowner can, I guess, monitor that.
For like a builder?
I'm guessing.
What was your question about We're trying to pull it up. In the meantime, I'm looking at new construction homes in Buda right now.
Here we go. Okay. How can a homeowner track the permitting process with the town outside of the builder?
Okay, let me start by saying I am not an expert at permitting anything. Like this is not what I'm good at. Like I tried to permit a shed one time and then I ended up building just a smaller shed because I didn't want to deal with it. Under 200 square feet, you don't have to get a permit, like for instance, right? So like, I don't know. I think you can, so there are permitting websites through the county or the city that you're buying in, and I think you can put in the address basically. Do you know anything about this?
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, two peas, no fat, we don't know anything about this. No, well, I know, okay. So you should be able to go on the county website, like to the permitting website. You might have to call the city too to find out. And you should be able to put in the address of the home to see what permits have been pulled. But a lot of times it doesn't even, like, it's not, like there's a huge lag. So like I had a client one time, his home was like 3 months from completion. They had plumbing, they had electric, they had windows, they had like all the stuff. And all that it showed was that there was like some zoning permit. It didn't show any of the other permits for the house. And he went crazy. He's like, how can this be? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I just think there's a a leg. So I don't fully know the answer to that question, but you should be able to go into the county. And you could just call the county too, or the city, and ask. So sorry, I'm not allowed to help.
This is probably a better question for like a general contractor or an actual builder.
Yeah.
Because that's something that they do all the time. And, you know, as a real estate agent, that's not really something that you handle.
Yeah. And like the remodeling stuff that I've done on houses has been like cosmetic stuff. Like it's not like I've added a second story to a home. That would definitely need a permit. And I just told you about my shed. Like I gave up and I just built something smaller. Yeah. Okay. So right now I am looking at new construction homes in Buda and in Kyle, and there are, this might be incorrect, but it says 124 homes available. Take that with a grain of salt, because a lot of times these builders have these homes that go available and they'll just never update the status, and they'll leave them on there until they're closed as active, and then they'll just like disappear or stay on there. But even then, like if you remove 20% of those homes, like you've still got like, what is that, like 90%? Not 90 homes that are still available. And they range in price anywhere from $297 to $816 is the most expensive, and that is in Kyle. It's in Kyle, really? That's a huge house. That's actually a really nice.
I'm gonna tell you that like
it's a good builder too.
If we were not in this time, $800,000 for a house anywhere in Kyle would have been a huge mansion.
Yes. So I was telling. Was I telling you this? No, I think I was telling my honey this. It was you. Yeah, we were driving through East Riverside, which is an area that used to be like kind of like super rough, and it's like super trendy. It's like super trendy now. Yeah. And I told him, this was a couple days ago, that I was looking at prices in that area, and I said, had I gone into a coma in early 2020 and woken up today and looked at home prices in Austin, I would probably go into another coma. You're like, how did this happen? Like, it's crazy. Yeah, in Kyle, like you could get a house. I remember when I first moved here in 2010, you could get a house in Kyle, like a basic cute little starter home for like 110,000, less probably. 120 was like kind of expensive for Kyle. So that was about 10 years ago. Yeah. And now you can buy an 800. Well, I mean, but that's not the standard for Kyle.
Right.
But anyway.
It's not a mansion though.
Well, it's not a mansion. It's almost 3,500 square feet. Okay. And it's Scott Felder's the builder, and actually Scott Felder's really good. They're one of like the top bougie, but like I'm surprised that they would be in Kyle. But good. Kyle needs this. We'll take the growth. Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
So Sandra, did that answer your question about Kyle and Buda? If you're still on.
If you're still with us. Should harmonize. Nope. Okay. All right. That was not a good idea.
All right. Okay. Well, I think that we answered everyone's question. Unless we missed somebody, please speak up. Yeah. But
awesome. She says yes.
Sweet. Please leave a comment if this was helpful. If you would like for us to do more videos like this, we will also be showing live videos throughout the week of sometimes they'll be live like this, interactions, and sometimes they will be, you know,
like a live stream.
Yeah.
And it's like other videos that are just getting revived.
So that way you have an opportunity to, you know, see all the videos that are on Daphne's channel and all the expertise that she brings to the table and all the cool things that we have here in Austin. So I know that I go out with Daphne with a lot of the videos, and we have a lot of fun together.
You are. He's like my video nanny. You are. Yeah. Yeah. Like he's behind the magic. Yeah. So it's me and Brian, and then we have our camera guy. His name is Corey, and he does all the edited videos that you guys see. But yeah, the three of us make a little team, and we're what brings you the content.
Yeah. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys, for watching us and supporting us. This was our first live like this, and I had fun.
It was great.
Did you have fun?
I did.
Okay, I hope you guys had fun.
We will do it more often.
Well, they will tell us if it was great or not.
Exactly.
They did so good. High five to self. Anyway, but yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I think that's it. That's it. I think I just saw one of my friends walk up to my door.
Yeah, we did.
So, all right. Good night, everyone.
All right. Thanks.
How do we? Oh, there it is.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll do it. Bye.
Bye.
Maybe. Yes.